Wreck-It Ralph, Wreck-It Ralph, Wreck-It Ralph. A movie so nice, you gotta say it thrice. When I review a movie on this channel, more often than not, if it isn't terrible, it's just a fun movie you can sit down, watch, and enjoy. That's not to say that's a bad thing, but very rarely do I talk about a movie that I feel really speaks to me. One that when I watch it, I am left completely speechless at how amazing it was. And one of the movies that is able to do that time and time again is Wreck-It Ralph. Releasing to theaters in 2012, Wreck-It Ralph follows Ralph, the bad guy of the in-movie classic arcade game Fix-It Felix Jr. Tired of his constant mistreatment and status as the bad guy, Ralph game jumps to Hero's Duty as he heard it was where he could win a medal. After obtaining said medal, Ralph along with a Cybug are launched via escape pod from Hero's Duty to Sugar Rush, where he meets Vanellope von Schweetz. Upon bonding with Vanellope and saving Sugar Rush from the infestation of Cybugs, Ralph realizes that even if he's made out to be a bad guy, he can still be the best person he can, and takes that mindset to live a better life in the arcade. Even with my brief description of the plot not necessarily doing it justice, this is one of the greatest stories Disney has ever told, and part of that being because of its premise. The incorporation of video games into the story of bad guy gone good gives the movie such a unique feeling. If this was the same story just set in a realistic setting, it wouldn't nearly be as good as or iconic. The world adds so much to this story. It's one of the coolest settings in film. Each major world is brimming with detail, and the tone shift from Fix-It Felix Jr.'s retro blocky look to Hero's Duty's grim apocalyptic future style, and then finally to Sugar Rush's bubbly happy land makes it consistently interesting to look at, and the detail that goes into these worlds is just incredible. You could probably watch this movie 10 times in a row and catch something you didn't see before each time. I did when watching it again for this review. I also love how the visual tone of the worlds contrasts with the expository tone. Fix-It Felix Jr. has such a simplistic look to it, but Ralph's motivation is so complex and stems from 30 years of wanting to be appreciated and loved. Hero's Duty is shown to be nothing but chaos, but it's one of the funniest scenes in the movie, and Sugar Rush on the surface looks so gorgeous and fun, but it's the darkest world of the three, and you get that impression almost immediately after Ralph stumbles across it. There is one aspect of the story that confuses me though. It's the reason Ralph feels the need to change his ways. The Nicelanders don't like him because he wrecks the building, but he only wrecks it because he has to. The building always gets fixed again anyway, and at the end of the movie, Ralph says they haven't been popular in years, meaning he rarely had to wreck the building before, but they still don't like him. They don't really explain why they hate Ralph. It's because he wrecks their home, obviously, but again, only because he has to. Did not a single Nicelander understand this? If the reason for them hating Ralph was explained as them being old-fashioned since their game is 30 years old, it would kind of make sense, but that's not the case. So Ralph's whole reason for wanting to change comes off more as him just being misconstrued. There is one other problem I have with the movie that I'll get to in a little bit, but before that, I want to switch topics from the story to the characters, and let it be known right now, Wreck-It Ralph has some of the best written characters of any Disney movie. The movie has 4 main characters, and all of them develop and change from when we first see them to when we last see them. These 4 characters could make any story a masterpiece, Ralph especially. Ralph is probably my favorite Disney character. His change from beginning to end is such a beautiful display of storytelling. In the beginning, he comes off as such a passive prick. He forgets people's names. The only reason he shows up to the Badanon is because he wanted some kind of recognition for his 30th anniversary, which he then ruins by horribly getting his feelings across. But by the end, he's a lot softer, more caring. He's finally able to live happily in his own world, finally recognized as someone important and worth having around. I also love how he exhibits these traits early on by giving Hubert and his friends the other cherry he took from Pac-Man. Moving away from that, this movie has one of the best casts I've ever seen. Bill C. Riley, Sarah Silverman, Jack McBrayer, Jane Lynch, Alan Tudyk, all of them nail their roles. They all bounce off of each other very well, and despite their immense fame, I'm able to see them as the characters they portray instead of the people behind them. This makes the relationship between Ralph and Vanellope so much fun to watch. You can tell how much they care for each other by the end of it, and the fact that they can sympathize with each other helps add a dimension to their friendship that wouldn't have been there otherwise. They're funny, and they can poke fun at each other, but they really do care for each other. Almost every scene between them is gold, whether it be comedic or emotional. Almost every scene. I may be alone on this here, but the scene where Ralph breaks Vanellope's cart wasn't handled in the best way. So King Candy shows up to tell Ralph that Vanellope's life would be at risk if she were to win the race, and this makes Ralph question whether or not he should go through with letting Vanellope compete. Now this part is fine, it's how he conveys this to Vanellope that makes me dislike this scene. At the beginning he tells Vanellope, quote, "I've been talking to King Candy." Why would he say it like that? He hasn't been talking to King Candy, he talked with King Candy. Why did he leave out the fact that King Candy approached him while Vanellope was getting Ralph his present? That seems too important a detail to just leave out, dude. Nothing in the movie tells me he would say it like this. He even contradicts himself by saying, "I'm gonna be straight with you, kid," before he tells her. You're not being straight with her though, because you left out the part where he showed up while Vanellope went to get your present. If Vanellope saw him talking with King Candy and then flipped out, never giving Ralph a chance to explain himself, it would have made for a way better scene. But the way it is, I think this scene was handled very poorly. Wow, I've just been talking about the story and characters for this entire video. Well, it just goes to show how good those aspects of the movie are. What do you say I go over the rest of the things I like about this movie in one quick go? Alright, let's do this. Oh man, this movie looks so good. Bright, colorful, I love it. Oh man, it's so funny. So many good jokes. It's a riot. The race is so awesome. I really love racing. They go so fast. Calhoun walks if Tomboy Mandalorian could run. The ending makes me cry. It's sad. Sonic the Hedgehog. King Candy is an amazing villain. So evil. Great twist too. Going turbo. Am I right, gamers? The end credit is so good. It makes me want to sing and dance. Want to hear me sing? Here I go. In conclusion, Wreck-It Ralph is one of, if not the best Disney movie of the decade. It does an amazing job moving away from the traditional Disney formula while still keeping that signature style that can be felt throughout every frame. Beautiful in its visuals, characters, and writing, Wreck-It Ralph is a movie I could watch every day for a month and still love it just as much as when I first saw it in theaters. If you haven't seen it, watch it, and if you have, watch it again. And that is why Wreck-It Ralph is simply a masterpiece. And with that all said, I'm Easily Easy, and I'll see you next time.